Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I want to welcome you to Straight Talk with Grover Thornton. There's so many issues every day I come on every month, and each time there are other issues that have come up that we all need to pay strict attention to. Now, I'm going to get away from the normal procedure that I usually have because we have an election coming up, and I have two outstanding people here, and they will be here to answer questions that I'll ask them, and also to let us know why they want to be the leaders of our city. But I want to say this first: we have so many issues going on in the country right now. To the war in Ukraine, the attack by
Russia.
the Palestinian people, Hamas and Hezbollah, on the Jewish people. And as I get into that particular subject, I'm going to have to let you know what God says about it. But in the meantime, I want to just talk about for a moment that this election that we have is very critical and very important. And we're moving to an area in which we must vote. What disturbs me is that so many people don't realize how the white mega Republicans are attempting each day to turn back the clock on the progress we have made. For many years, our history and contributions have been overlooked, ignored, and many times suppressed. So what we have to do, this is the only time we are equal to any other individual is when we go vote. If that person can't vote but one time, he can be a trillionaire, millionaire, whatever it is. He cannot vote in this system but one time. So it's very critical about that. So there's some issues I will be talking after we finish with my guests. Very critical issues that is affecting this country and affecting our lives as Americans, particularly Black Americans. I have tonight two outstanding ladies. One of them used to serve as an alderwoman lady, and the other one is running already in office, and she's running for re-election. So I'm bringing these ladies, and I'll be proud of the ladies because this is the year of the ladies. You know, ladies, I was reading an article the other night, and guess what? It was by Shirley Chisholm.
Mm-hmm.
And she was saying, of course, unbossed
Unbought
and unbought.
Right.
So I like that terminology because so many of our people, we have been fighting Uncle Tom's and Aunt Susie for many years.
Yes.
Fighting them.
Sambos.
You young ladies weren't even born during the 60s. You don't know what we had to go through with the Political Advisory Council.
Hold on. I was born 1960.
Oh, you had during the 60s too?
Yes, sir.
All right then. And then you want to, well, I'll take that back.
See, her black doesn't crack.
Well, you
I
know,
know mine is.
I'm not a perfect person, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
There were times in the 60s, but the average person doesn't know if you weren't born in the 60s.
Right.
There were so many organizations. The Political Advisory Council was the most important organization that moved the Black community forward.
Mm-hmm.
No question about it. And we had so much opposition. Now, one thing I want to say as we get on to particularly when you start speaking,
Mm-hmm.
I need to compound on certain things after you speak.
Yes, sir.
So let's just get busy with the business. I think I'll start with Ms. Carter. How are you tonight again, darling?
I'm good. I'm so happy
Happy to
to
have-
finally be here with you. I know we have been planning for a while. We've had a lot going on, so
Oh, yes.
we're
Oh,
just
yeah.
grateful to finally be in this seat next to you.
Well, I'm happy to have you on next to me.
Yes.
I have worked in this community since I was 17 years old. I met three of the most important persons God ever made as a Black person.
Mm-hmm.
That's Thurgood Marshall,
Mm.
Martin Luther King,
Mm.
and Miss Constance Motley.
Okay.
And I have evidence to show you. She and I communicated.
Mm-hmm.
She was a judge. If she had not died, it hurt me so bad when I came home one day and cut on the television and announced that Mrs. Constance Motley had died from cancer.
Mm.
She was the attorney for Jane Merritt, University of Mississippi, or the hell they raised.
Mm-hmm.
She was the attorney to get the two people in the University of Georgia
Mm-hmm.
and also Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
But here's my point. The lady who just took her place, Ms. Kanji, on the Supreme Court,
Yes.
she said if she had not died, Ms. Constance Marley, she would have been
The
Mm.
Supreme
a
Court.
nominee for the Supreme Court.
Oh wow.
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
So I'm honored to say that I shook the hand of Thurgood Marshall when I was a young man in high school.
Mhm.
I went upstairs, he was sitting up past the house, Dr. Gilbert's house. And I went up, he was lying on the bed smoking a cigarette. And I said, good evening, Attorney Marshall. He was fighting for NAACP. He went all over these areas where Negroes were being mistreated.
Right.
And he was staying in one house, so the white folks, Ku Klux Klan couldn't kill him.
Mm-hmm.
They thought he was in this house, but when they got to sending people around, he wasn't, they done moving someplace else.
Exactly.
But people have made sacrifices. And that's what hurt me when people turn on our people and go to white people. I'm to be honest with you.
Come on now.
Now, if you were no good, now I'm going against you.
All right.
But I'm not going to do it because you have to be black and somebody white. But I'll get to that when I talk with you.
Yes,
Oh.
sir.
But I'm just showing the struggle that black folks had to do
Mm-hmm.
all during the 60s. And I got to say, Ms. Elliott with the Political Barrier Council, and she was very outstanding. I will take time to do somebody. There,
You see, I'm looking in this camera, not at you, right, Mr.
well,
Thomas?
that's all right, but you can't hide the truth.
Mhm.
That's what the white man trying to do now. Come on, all the truth and whitewash black history.
Mhm.
You have to tell the truth. Back, that man, Governor Matters, didn't even have, until I was reading not long ago, he did not even have a high school education.
Sure did.
But he was governor of Georgia. You know what made him governor of Georgia?
Mm.
With the picnics restaurant he had, chicken restaurant in Atlanta.
Mhm.
And black folk were, after the 64 Civil Rights Bill, they were going in to test it out, the bill. He ran them out with a pistol. I got the picture to show you in my memorabilia.
Mhm.
But what did he do? Since a good person, a bad person sometimes had done good things. That's my
Mhm.
point.
Mhm.
But Jackson was magnificent. When I read all day, you don't know. Try to get these black folk out to vote along with the PSC.
Mhm.
But we had so many other oppositions. And what Matters did, but what did he do good?
Hmm.
When he became governor, he hired the first state patrolmen.
Mhm.
That's what they did. So you don't take away what somebody did good. Somebody bad can do good. You see my
Mhm.
point?
Yes, sir.
You know the word of God, Apostle Paul.
Mhm.
He killed people. He mentioned the word Jesus. Thousands.
Mhm.
But he became the greatest missionary the world has ever produced
Right.
for Christ. So I said to say this. Now, Miss Carter, tell us what make you want to run for office.
Well, for me, it's not so much what I want more than it is what Savannah needs.
Yeah.
And so in 2019, it was more of my decision to engage in a way in which I never imagined that I would, and that was to jump into this world of politics. Not being a politician or having the heart of a politician or mindset of a politician, I came in as a public servant through a set of circumstances that led me to change my career path.
Yeah.
And so as a result, I found myself within a continuum where I got excited immediately after thinking that I wasn't qualified, good enough, or skilled enough. I started to look at my background, my experience, and the work I'd done,
Mhm.
and saw that I was actually poised and probably more uniquely prepared than I'd ever been, in that I worked in several continuums of social and community services, from seniors who were nutrition insecure to youth who were vulnerable and members of gangs, victims of rape and child molestation, domestic violence. And for 10 years, I worked on the front lines of helping homeless families with children, and did a stint in community engagement, mobilization, and organization. And with that blended set of experience, it made me uniquely well suited to now go to City Hall and tackle those societal ills that were commonplace among our citizens, I was excited to now go and be a part of a proactive change or work proactively to change the lives of our citizens as opposed to reacting to an emergency, reacting to an issue.
Mhm.
Most of the organizations I worked for were actually 24-hour, 365-day a year. I was on call probably
Yes.
half of my life. And so
Mhm.
I saw how, in working on the front lines of social services, how government was continually failing our citizens, particularly when it came to the allocation of resources to aid in nonprofit support. They essentially undergird the worst hurt that our citizens face.
Mhm.
And so I had a person just kind of plant a seed and say, you should run for public office. And I thought, oh, no, never me, right? And in short order, it seemed as if every turn somebody was coming and nurturing that seed or watering that seed or cultivating that seed
Mhm.
that she planted. And I was at a place where I couldn't do anything else. And so I decided to go for it. And then at that point, it
Uh-huh.
was, what do I run for? Do I wait for the county elections, which was coming right after the city election, or do I run at the state level? And so after looking at the landscape, I saw where I was better suited for municipal office.
Okay.
And as clear as I'm talking to you today, I prayed and I asked God, what should I do? What, I live in the 4th district.
Mhm.
And so I didn't think that the issues facing the 4th district match my background and experience in working with more vulnerable communities.
Okay.
I'm, of course, concerned about the environment. I'm concerned about traffic issues.
Yes.
I'm concerned about trees. I'm concerned about bike lanes, whatever
All right.
Savanians are concerned about, I'm concerned about. But 4th district didn't tickle my fancy too much.
Mhm.
And when I learned that I could do for the 4th district what I could do for the entire city of Savannah, I decided that for one
All right.
at-large post.
Well, let me, when I first met you, of course, I have known Miss Alicia, council lady, man, I just call you Alicia.
Yes, of course. Come
And you
on.
can call me Keisha.
You have earned that right at 90 years young.
Thank
You
you.
can call me whatever.
No, it's gonna be a gentleman thing.
Yes.
But let me just say this. You probably can't remember when I met you before I voted for you when you were in office. My friend and I were eating lunch at that restaurant at that time at the Congress building. What they call that name of the building? You know that building.
Con Ed.
Con Ed building.
Mm-hmm.
So many restaurants have been in there. I don't know what's the problem, but anyway, my friend and I, my fraternity brother, we were eating lunch in there, and I forget who you were with. Several people knew me, and they said, "Oh, Grove, I want you to meet somebody." And I met you standing up. I said, "Oh, quite natural." I was glad to meet a nice, charming lady, of course, and told me you were running for office, and I said, "Fine, I'm gonna vote for you," and so I did, and my friend,
Mhm.
and that's when I met you. Now I want to say this to you. When where that paper I had with you on it, what happened to it?
It's right there in your hand.
No, I'm talking about an article.
Oh, right here.
Let me hold it a second. So, I've had everybody have a certain hobby they like doing,
Mm-hmm.
and my hobby really is reading
Mm-hmm.
history,
Mm.
biographies. I love to read what people have done, and I try to emulate certain good characters,
Yes.
good persons,
Mm-hmm.
and I like to read speeches.
Mm.
Read speeches. I'm reading right now the speech on quite a long speech on but our great person who was a slave man, and Frederick Douglass,
Mm.
and
Yes.
and guess what? This speech was that he ridiculed them. I'm not going to the whole speech, but just why I mentioned that things what I do. He ridiculed them because he was speaking on 4th of July.
Yes.
Which the country was supposed to have been the person with Jefferson,
Mhm.
Declaration of Independence.
I call it
So-
the 4th of July.
Yeah, that's what it is, White Folk Day. But that's what he was telling them, that they're honoring him to speak. And he was a slave. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So I have a container with nothing but headline news articles about children and grandchildren who see him and he has to come. And so I had this particular issue of the Herald that particular day. And I said, oh, that's the lady that I just met about a week or two ago.
Mhm.
Charming lady. And of course, I read all these things that you've done. And I read them and I outlined, I didn't want everything you've done, but I also said some out things. You was a community center for working, like you were just saying. And I like when you say you supported Meal on Wheels.
Mhm.
I give that always, I give $25 every month.
Aw.
Mm.
What this lady, Miss Patricia, that's her name, isn't it?
Patty Lyons.
Lions, Miss Lions. I told her quit sending me letters every month. I've been giving that to them over 2 years.
Awesome.
And she sent me an article once where really made me increase from $15 to $25.
Mm.
It was this black, it was a black lady. She was poor and she didn't have anything to eat.
Mm.
And what she told in her own handwriting, she sent me a copy of the letter. And this lady was asking for food. And so all she had was this old $5 bill. And Ms. Lyons sent the copy of the letter.
Mhm.
And she was cooking onions and water, smelling good. And would y'all please give me a little food for $5?
Mm.
That's how that
That's
lady
reality.
got on that program.
Mhm.
And when I saw reading about you with that program, I knew you were a good person.
Mhm.
Nobody is a
Very
perfect
important
person.
word.
Nobody.
Mhm.
If anybody is perfect, I love to quote the scriptures. You criticize me, but I quote the scriptures. What Jesus says. He that without sin cast the first stone.
That's right.
Not only that, take the beam out of your own eye,
Mhm.
and you can surely see the mote in your brother's eye.
Come on.
So when you criticize me, I'm not perfect.
That's right.
Look at the good I've done.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm saying then. When I saw this about you, ma'am, and I had this article in my memorabilia, then I knew that you were a real good person. I read all these things that you do with families.
Mhm.
You see, I haven't gotten to you yet because
Mhm.
you've done so much. I've been knowing you many, many years.
Yes, sir.
So I just had to say that. Now, this question I want to ask you, the city, sometimes I do get angry with all of y'all down at that city hall now
Mm.
because with 7 people,
Mhm.
7 leaders,
Yes, sir.
ladies and gentlemen, Savannah ought to be on the top of the world.
Mm.
But so much division down there.
Mhm.
Huh?
Yes, sir.
Coalitions, am I right?
Mhm.
And I was so surprised and so happy when I saw after so much disagreements and so much disunity, you all united together.
Let me stop you, Mr. Thornton.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what did you have under the Deloach administration? You had more decorum, right? There was a semblance of more dignity, would you say, than
I would say about more cooperation.
Okay, so you saw what you got.
Huh?
You saw what you got, what Savannah got when they had more dignity and decorum, right?
Oh yes.
Black folk ain't got nothing.
You got more.
We don't have nothing.
You got exactly what we see
What
on
we
the
paid
streets of
for.
Savannah today. The growth and development essentially was created
Mhm.
by the previous administration.
By the previous administration, certainly
that's-
was.
So listen to me good, because what I want Savannahans to know, because I'm so over it right now.
Yeah.
Today we buried my husband's mother.
Oh, the funeral was today.
It was today.
Oh, I'm sorry,
right?
you're not
And
special
so Adams was the funeral home
person. Yeah.
their family selected,
Mhm.
right? They provided an enormous amount of dignity. The decorum of the people in the church
Yeah.
was on par. And it was a beautiful testament to her legacy.
Yes.
Vines are royal. They provide families every time they have a funeral with dignity. When you go to a wake at Campbell's, dignity,
Yes.
decorum among the staff.
Yes, you said
Sylvan,
again.
Savannah, funeral home. I don't know a family who wouldn't say that they did not provide them with a high level of compassion, where they went into that funeral home and there was a spirit of peace. City Hall is not Sunday school.
Come on.
City Hall is not church. City Hall is not a place where you would find dignity under this leadership. So what we need people to understand, at the core of any disruption, confusion, frustration, or aggravation, is this masterful manipulator who has conjured up and created the basis by which peace cannot exist.
Right.
If we are to do what you sent us to do, you all sent us into a cesspool under
Come
the
on.
Gold Dome. You sent us to City Hall with butter knives, and they were packing AK-47s.
Come on.
Hmm.
So we went to City Hall with this spirit of altruism, and I truly believe that almost every council member who ran alongside us in 2019 and who made it over, they too had a sense of altruism. They wanted to do good. They wanted to make change. They wanted different in our community, but in
Mhm.
short order, they found themselves snuffed out by the
Mhm.
establishment,
Yes.
where they got mesmerized by their name in the media. They got picked off and picked up. You know, and we're going to check these off as I go. But what I want to say is the reason why they don't get along in Congress is because there's two different sides. They're fighting. It's Democrats and
Exactly.
Republicans. But what I want people to know when it comes to municipal government, we need to put and take out any idea of Democrat and Republican,
Exactly.
black or white, because guess what? What we work for is for your public safety, number one. Number two is saving you money. We should not be increasing taxes.
No.
We should be making sure that the resources of the city of Savannah are being appropriately allocated equitably across our
Well,
community.
let me ask you a question, ma'am.
So before she say that, let me say this. You all who watching this, your family, your friends, and all that, y'all sent a message in 2019 that y'all didn't want us to play the game. Y'all wanted us to change the game. And that's exactly what we're doing. You all are now more engaged in the political process than you have ever been, because the administrations before us wasn't telling y'all nothing. So now we get down there, we educating you all, we telling you what's going on, and now you want us to have dignity and decorum instead of drama and disruption.
Sure.
So the bottom line is this: you can continue to have dignity and decorum while your stomach is touching your back, or you can have drama and disruption, and you getting the resources that you need.
Well, we see what Savannah got when Eddie and Carol got along, right?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Right.
Oh, it was
You
consensus.
got the single largest construction project in the history of the city of Savannah, and all the contracts went to their family members and friends.
Thank you.
We got the single largest construction project that occurred in the city of Savannah in the communities of Carver Village, Brickyard, Cloverdale, and Flatma Village are still suffering.
Yes.
The community where one, your mayor lives, and two, your county chair lives. You got the mayor and the chair. They are the most powerful bookends in this region. But over 2 decades, those communities still are the most underrepresented, most underserved, and most lacking in all of the basic resources in our community. But you got these two people who you keep pledging your alliance and allegiance to because they're somebody's friends, they're somebody's buddy, they preached at your mama's funeral or played piano at your daddy's church or was your
Come to your
great-grandma.
cookout.
It's like we are in dire straits in our community.
Of
Savannah,
leadership.
it is time. It is time.
Yes, it
It
is.
is time for us to hold these people who look like us accountable. And Mr. Thornton, the whole notion of race in this particular race, as far as I'm concerned, it's off the table. You know why? Because it's Black leadership in this community who has failed the entire community of Savannah.
Mhm.
Well, not the entire community, because you got areas in the community that have been getting what they need. They have failed the African American community, because when
Exactly.
you look at other races and ethnicities and genders, I'm even go that far, they all get what they need. They get the Asian man, what he get? The doggone nail shops, the restaurants, the hair salons.
Yeah.
You got the Indians who got the convenience stores
Oh,
and the
sure.
hotels.
The whole place.
You got the white man who has the construction, the development, and the doggone
We got
businesses. And you have the Mexican man who is doing the construction. Okay, now in a city that's 59.3% African American, you tell me what the Black man got.
Nothing.
You have politicians. You have politicians who
There
have
you
led them
go.
astray. And once again, you still have the dynamic where they are not only failing African American people, they're failing middle class people,
Yeah.
working middle class, both black and white. You know, we have a situation in the city where it's only about the top 2% in our town. And we have to change that dynamic. And the only way we can change it is with the vote of this in this next election.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Now, let me ask you this, ma'am. I've got a few minute questions that I want to bring to your attention since you run for mayor. We have a serious problem with homelessness. It's sad in America, the greatest country in the world. And we have so many people homeless. What has the city done, and what is the plan to do something about this problem?
Well, we haven't done very much, which is why
You can
see
say that
what
again.
you see. So what we need our citizens to understand is that we have a homeless situation in our community that's twofold. You have the homelessness that you see, and then you have the homelessness that you don't see. The homelessness that we see is most perplexing, is more problematic, and it's more frustrating for us as Savannahans because it poses a public health issue.
Yeah.
I've said before that this administration has not been effective in moving homelessness down. They have been most effective in moving it around. When the corridors of President Street became desirable by the Eastern Wharf and other developers, it was only then that we had this, all of a sudden, this fire. Only after the city of Savannah and some politicians on our current council, specifically from the 3rd District, began to increase resources to the homeless persons who were living under the bridge. We had water buffaloes, we had porta-johns, we were sending out messages via our city electronic medium to tell people to bring food, this, that, and the third. And there was always a camera, there was always a live. We were always profiting off of somebody's homelessness. And note to self, if you do something for somebody, don't put a camera in the person's face.
Exactly.
Don't show their face.
Exactly.
You can demonstrate in other ways how community oriented you are by not embarrassing people. There are other ways to do
We
that.
want to get now because we want to cut off.
Well, I want to tell you that to solve the problem, I want to answer your question. To solve the problem, we first have to tackle the issues related to vagrancy, right? We're dealing with people who have strong criminal history, mental health issues, diagnosed and undiagnosed. And then you have individuals who are challenged with drugs and substance abuse. So we have to meet those individuals where they are. There are best practices that we can adopt and apply here in Savannah from communities who are doing it exceptionally well. We just have to have the political will to put the money where it's needed.
Right.
And then secondarily, we have to recognize that there's homelessness that you don't see. For 10 years, I worked in this city supporting homeless families with children. Nearly the number of resources and bed nights that we had over 20 years ago, it hasn't changed or shifted much in comparison to how our population has changed. And so we have to do better by holding our nonprofit communities accountable. When we allocate resources to these nonprofit organizations, we have to make sure that it's not going to pad the pockets of those individuals who run those shelters. We have right now individuals who are receiving money from our city of Savannah for their nonprofit agencies who are now working on the mayor's campaign. And the resources that we give to those organizations are going to their administrative costs as opposed to the direct service costs. And so as mayor, we are going to change the standard and hold them more accountable.
Wait a minute. Well, how can that be?
Easy.
That's a violation, seemed to me. I thought when money's come down, they have stipulation of things that you're supposed to do.
But when you do not have the accountability and the reporting mechanisms to assure that we're not as city council members, and when we hear this talk of ethics complaints, I'll take another ethics complaint for Team Savannah. You know why? Because if I see that we're allocating millions of dollars to a nonprofit organization and said organization in the form of Family Promise is not following through on the support services that we're supposed to be giving to our families, and I have the receipts, I have the emails, the text messages, and the phone calls to prove families calling me saying they're not answering the phone. They're out of resources. They don't have any space. Well, when I'm making inquiry behind the scenes, trying to get to the bottom of what's happening, and I'm not getting a response, then what do? We go public.
Yes.
Because that's the only way we have ever been able to
Well,
effectuate change.
Wouldn't that
in
be
this house.
classified as misuse of funds?
Of course it is.
Then why somebody not held responsible?
We are in an administration where we have acts of misuse of funds happening as a regular mode of operation. It's a part of a standard. We probably should create a rule called wasteful spending,
Yeah, that's
because
what
you have
y'all doing.
a city mayor who has logged millions of dollars in personal security utilizing paid sergeants from the Savannah Police Department amidst a time when we are short officers and we're short sergeants.
Yeah.
But this mayor has at his disposal sergeants, 5 of them who are assigned to fetch his laundry, pick up his breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and drive him around to the neighborhood association meetings and any other meeting, parties included, on your dime. Never in the history of Savannah have we had a mayor with that type of security detail.
Well,
So
usually that's in the
first,
big cities.
I would take that $1 million that we are expending on his security detail
Yeah,
and apply it to alleviating the issues that we have related to homelessness.
sure.
We can increase the bearing capacity of our nonprofit organizations who are doing a good job in delivering the services, and those who out there who want to do the job.
Now let me ask you a question, Ms. Carter. The president recently, with his program, the infrastructure bill. I was in the presence of the county commission, and who happened to be one of my fraternity brothers, so Mr. Johnson. But like I told him, I don't agree with somebody just because you're in my fraternity. You're wrong. You're wrong. But I asked the chairman.
I'm your sorority sister, by the way.
Yeah, he was in sister. Yeah, AKA. I asked the chairman. I said, Chairman Ellis, let me ask you a question. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, I asked him about the infrastructure money. I said, well, if the president signed this legislation, so much money for it said bridges and roads.
Yes.
That's what he said. Bridges and roads. Well, I'm gonna ask you. You've been on the city, and you own the city. Why the road? You follow me right around the corner. Every time I go around, hope cars not coming in the opposite direction. I shoot around, and I call about that bad situation. But from this sofa to over that coffee table, your car do like this and go through it. 3 years I've been calling about doing that. I said, wait, I will get done now.
You don't live in Ardsley Park.
That's it.
You don't live in Ardsley Park.
All
Let's
right
just
then.
put it out there.
All right then. See what I'm talking about?
Now, what we have done is I've communicated with our assistant city manager. When I see something, I say something.
Yes.
You understand? So he has been working on certain projects.
You know,
but a lot of the stuff has been allocated for your more affluent neighborhoods. And that's why you hear me always saying, why not work with the people in the marginalized communities? Do you realize that when we first got elected, might have been a year into the election, Cloverdale Drive had a sidewalk that had one of those workhorse things there with the little lights on it.
The lights on, yeah,
right? And the little what do you call those things? The orange cones in the street. For 4 years, these people have been trying to get their doggone street fixed, their sidewalk fixed.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
There for literally
4 years, right? So I mean, and this was rain. This day it was raining.
Yeah.
When that lady said that, I went and took my camera, my phone, and I went live.
Yeah.
We had to embarrass them. All the women, Keisha Gibbs-Carter was with me. We had to embarrass them to the point where they have a choice but to go and fix
that street.
These people's sidewalk. You got babies playing, riding bicycles.
Yeah.
You understand? People walking, hurting themselves, and here you are, 4 years.
But the mayor lives on the street.
And the street over.
Well, here's what I'm saying.
Come on, man.
That's
the question was,
what are y'all doing with the money? That's the question.
Well, and so what you are speaking of, however, is more of a state level issue when we're talking about roads and
Yeah,
how
yeah,
we
but yeah,
started
but
Savannah.
aren't they supposed to the state disperse the money among the cities?
Well, the federal government came out with a bill to fix infrastructure in certain areas.
Mhm.
Okay. What happened was when they tried to do the T-Splosh, I asked the question, why do we have to have T-Splosh when the federal government is bringing all this money down
That's
here
what
for
I'm talking
us to
about right
do
now.
what we need to do for our city? Well, hey,
Well,
look at
back
who's
to
at the
Tennessee.
top of the league.
Right.
Yes.
He did not want to answer the question. We still to this day does not know how much money is being allocated to the city of Savannah for infrastructure.
You see what I'm talking about? Now,
Come
when
on
I talked
now.
to the chairman of the county commission, you know what he said to me?
What did he say?
I said, well, how you doing? This is like everything going. He said they distribute the money, bridges fixed, this fixed it. He said, one thing, brother, I said, is this is not the city of Savannah. He was telling me how the county is up to par on what they're doing with that money.
The county is?
I'm going with what he said.
Well, if the county is up to par with what they're doing with that money, then why in the world did they want to do a T-Splosh?
I don't know.
If the county is up to par with what they're doing with that money.
I don't know. This is not. I'm not discussing county business. I'm kind of discussing Savannah city business.
Right. I was just
Yeah,
commenting on what you said.
I understand, but
that
I'm
he
going to go to what
said.
he said.
right.
So, but I live in the city. I'm concerned with what I drive my car in the city,
Right. Well,
and the roads are bad.
guess what,
At
Mr.
night,
Thornton?
listen, the white line that divide the highways need to be restricted so bad it's pitiful.
You're right.
You leave Savannah Mall down on walking on Montgomery Street at night.
Mhm.
You can't have sleep. Don't let it be raining.
Well, now I got to give them this much. Abercorn, they are fixing it. They're
That's
doing the
gonna work,
paving and
yeah.
all of that stuff
Whenever come.
on Abercorn.
But, if
But what about Augusta Avenue?
What about Augusta Avenue?
Come on.
And that place was like a war zone.
What you better tell them.
That place has had 3 or 4 mayors and nothing been done about it.
And the mayor who's
Terrible.
been there for 16 years and brags about the fact that
That's a
he was
terrible-
there for 16 years. I
Yeah,
can't.
but Augusta Avenue is a terrible looking place.
It really is.
Now, the last question I want to ask you, ma'am, Nixon, last question, I talked about that. And I talked about the next thing is this weeping time business. That I think that's the area with the last slaves were sold in that area, and they needed
The
this.
largest slave sale in the history
Yes,
of the
it-
United
States.
States.
Right, but the
Mhm.
last
Happened
slaves
right
were
here in
sold right in
Savannah,
Savannah, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
But this land, I think something about the Goodwill people bought it or something like that, and y'all
No. Salvation
What's
Army.
Salvation Army
Salvation
didn't
Army
say?
wanted to get it.
get it. What's the
they had-
status on that?
No. They're in court right now.
Oh, it
Reverend
is?
Dr. Leonard Small and
Yes.
Pastor Gordon. They're in court right now fighting
Yes,
for that land to not be desecrated
right.
with a homeless shelter. Now, don't get us wrong.
Yeah,
We know people got to go someplace,
We
and
know that.
we know we need homeless shelters, but not on that sacred ground.
that's a sacred ground for the last. That's worse than they wanted. Some people wanted Calhoun to stay on that square, and that man saying these words. I can show you my history books in my office over there.
Mhm.
He says, slavery is not an evil for Negroes. Quote, it's a good thing.
Mhm.
That's what he said.
Mhm.
But that's square.
Mhm.
And I want to commend you all for coming together for one time at least.
Mhm.
After so much bickering, want to name a square after this person. We'll leave it open for this.
No, that's not true.
That's not true.
The majority on council only came around after they were shamed into doing the right thing.
Thank you.
Doing the right thing. But
Yes.
Because Pat Gunn and
Pat
her
Gunn took that
committee-
leadership.
Pat Gunn and her committee had been going for
For
in
years.
excess of 2 years.
Yes, I know that.
And when they saw the arrival of this historic supermajority African American council,
Yes.
they thought that their troubles were over, only
Hmm.
to experience being politricked, and they had the process slowed.
Yeah, but then I understood that it wasn't to open up the name of that to somebody else, but originally
Well, that was due to the maneuvering of again the masterful manipulator.
That was
That's
terrible.
the leader of our council by saying, "Well, this group who has worked and advocated to remove the name, now you don't have the privilege or the luxury of having the name, the square name for the name you want. Let's open it up to the whole city.
Mhm.
When the whole city was never a part of the removal of the name.
Exactly.
When we have several other squares and several other areas in this city that are named for Confederate individuals who aligned themselves with the Confederacy, they can do work to remove those names.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
again, it was more of the slow roll, more of the manipulation, and that again is an example of the drama
And
that this individual creates. And what I want to say to you is, everybody look up the term narcissist or narcissistic individual.
yes.
Mhm.
You know, I worked in the area of domestic violence for a long time.
Mhm.
And this is one of the reasons why I don't take crap from particularly men who are mean. I know very well how to speak up and how to stand up for myself.
Everybody got
For
to figure it
years,
out.
I've worked with victims of domestic violence,
I know.
Mhm.
encouraging them and helping them understand that they did not deserve the treatment, whether it was emotional, physical, or financial abuse that they were experiencing.
Right.
And so when I detect behaviors that mimic that of a domestic violence offender, I feel some kind of way and I automatically put up my defense mechanisms. And so this is when individuals create madness and make you feel like, or try to hold you accountable for the very madness that they created.
Mhm.
And so that's what we have been a part of. This individual creates drama, creates turmoil,
Mhm.
creates confusion, makes people frustrated, and then expects for you to fall in line.
Mhm.
No,
That
that's
not today.
no.
Not today.
I don't blame you.
Especially, you know, I'm also coming off of celebrating 33 years of being with one man. I've been holding down the most difficult relationship to hold down in America, and that's marriage.
Mhm.
And I've
Well,
successfully done that for 27 years.
Well,
And
my
been in
wife and I was
partnership.
married now for 46 years. So,
So
that's
you know, you know how hard it is. It's not
Yeah.
easy, right?
right, of course.
And so
You have to make
while-
decisions and you got to
Right.
work together.
And so if I'm coming home every night to a person who treats me with the utmost dignity and respect, pay all my bills and
Mhm.
takes care of me, do you think I'm gonna go outside my home and let any other man treat me
Come on now.
any different?
No,
You don't have to come up to his standard, but surely you're not gonna disrespect me.
no.
That's right.
Right.
But you know what? I want to say this one thing. When you talk about the Calhoun Square and the naming of the square, y'all, now that committee decided that they didn't want to see that staunch racist name on that square anymore. But let me tell you what this individual did. He said, instead of us removing the name altogether,
Yeah.
let's take and put it on a placard at the back
That
of the
that used to
square.
be. I was going to ask you that question. That can't be so.
That
So
is
that
so
we-
very
that
So
is
sad.
so-
we can remember the
That
history.
they just named
So-
it so that a
That's
man
like-
who's
that's
a
like
man
telling
who's
them-
amendment.
That's like telling a rape victim to tattoo the name of the rapist on
On
your
your
arm,
arm.
So
that
you can always
remember,
see
it.
Remember who
Like
raped
like
you.
like what happened yesterday
Crazy.
going on in Israel right now. What the Hamas did. All these Jewish young women and men were having a party, a peaceful dance,
Mhm.
and that's when they assaulted.
Mhm.
And what they did, they killed up a lot of the young people, but they shot the women in the leg.
Mhm.
So they fall on the ground and then raped them. See,
Mhm.
terrible,
Yeah. And
terrible.
so when you have that
Mm.
type of abuse, or when you have abuse that mimics that,
Yes,
and as an advocate, as a person who's always stood up for women, I can't help but challenge these things. And so when people talk about the lack of civility, that's not what this is.
Yeah.
This
No.
is essentially intelligent women who have a voice.
have a voice.
And unfortunately, because of the fact that we're women and because we're African American, we get pegged as loudmouths, rebel rousers,
Yeah,
or people who lack in
Instigators.
decorum.
because you
And
speak
that's-
up for what's
And that's
right.
as far from the truth. You know, Alderman Blakely spent 25 years as a communications specialist in the United States Army. I'm a nonprofit executive who worked at the top level
Oh, they said stop calling him an individual. We're talking about Van Johnson. Everybody knows.
for over
Call a man name,
Yeah,
over-
Van
the
Johnson,
mayor.
the mayor.
I don't like to have that name in my mouth, but
Well,
for over 20 years. And so why is it that it's anybody's thinking that all of a sudden, as a person who was considered advocate of the year by United Way, I've run successfully these myriad of organizations in the city. Why would I all of a sudden like lose my marbles, get off my rocker, and come to City Hall at this grand of a stage and decide to lose it and to go bonkers?
You know,
It just doesn't make sense.
But no,
But
this is the question. This is the question. Why does he have to have $500,000 in his coffers to run against you?
Right.
Y'all think about it
I'm
now.
feeling really good about myself.
Where all this
these
money
days.
come from?
Well,
It's coming from
developers.
Well,
That's shameful.
most of it is coming from people who are out of state and out of the city who
Mhm.
have interest in Savannah.
Atlanta.
Another part of it is from people who actually do business with the city of Savannah.
So
And
people
have
need
been.
people need to look.
Legacy contractors.
The people in Savannah, our citizens, we need to look at what progress you all have done to uplift our conditions.
Well, I'm so proud of the progress we have been able to make, because despite the fact that he essentially backdoored his way into being a strong mayor, and understanding that Savannah is a council manager form of government,
Yeah.
meaning
A weak
that
mayor form of government.
It's a week for that was
Mhm.
we all have an equal vote and an equal voice. But third month into office, this masterful manipulator was able to garner a majority on council and
Yes.
backdoor his way into a strong mayor form of government, where it takes 5 members of council simply to introduce, present, or discuss an idea, legislation,
Do
or
you
an
know
opportunity.
this man said today that our charter says that only the mayor can put something
That's
on
not
the
true.
agenda and the city manager?
That's not true.
And you know what? I didn't think
As
about
a
it
matter of fact,
until
the charter
after.
doesn't speak to the
At
agenda
all.
at all.
And I thought about it. Well, if that's the case, why in the heck did we have to change the rules of council
Or add.
so that we could have 5?
Well,
So what I want to say to this is, again, we cannot major in the minor things. We cannot be distracted. The greatest enemy of direction is distraction.
That's right.
Exactly.
And that's what this council has this administration has specialized in distraction.
that's what y'all do.
We had a majority on council file an ethics complaint. We had a person who was his significant other file an ethics complaint. We've had the media play a major role in how much our community has been gaslit. When the media is owned by the establishment, they are motivated to send messages that are consistent with keeping the madness going.
Yes.
And so now what we must do, Savannah,
Yeah.
what we must do is focus on becoming a policy-led, citizen-driven community.
Yes.
We must be a citizen-led, policy-driven community, meaning we are going to be better about listening to individuals from all of our districts in Savannah.
Yeah.
We are going to be better by taking their ideas, matching them with the bearing capacity of our city staff and the bearing capacity of our budget, and actually putting it into practice.
Okay.
So we no longer want the rhetoric under the gold dome to outpace the reality in our community.
Yes.
And I ask you this question, and we can close and you can get rid of me if you want to.
No, I ain't get ready. I want to get rid of your question.
When people ask me why I want to be mayor, I tell them straight away, I do not want to be mayor. I need to be Savannah's mayor, right?
If y'all know what we
Savannah,
know.
We are asking that you help us save Savannah. It's that plain and simple.
Yeah.
The only thing that has changed from the previous administration to this administration is we have more crime, more poverty, more forced displacement, and you have higher taxes. This administration has
Rents
made
and
decisions
mortgages
that have increased your taxes more than any other administration in the history of Savannah.
See,
We've had more African American men and boys die on the watch of this super African majority council than any white mayor, right?
yeah,
And so
What's
we
the
want
problem?
you
What
not
causing
to
that?
get caught up in Democrat, Republican, black or white,
Right.
male, female, gay or straight. What we want you to do is hone in on the issues. And if you do not feel better this term than you did last term, it's time to take a chance,
Sure
to
is.
make a choice for change.
Sure is.
And we are the change that Savannah needs right now.
That's right.
And we,
All right. Now, you've been very wonderfully addressing your issues and response, and I'm very glad to say that. But we know, I'm going to say my little say, we don't have any leadership in Savannah. When I think about the leadership that we had in the 60s.
Hold on. You have leadership. We are your leadership.
Well, no, I'm talking about, when I say that, speaking out.
Oh.
People other than you or a few other people.
Mhm.
I'm talking about the Savannah as a whole right now.
Mm-hmm.
See, like when I'm talking about like when W.W. Law was over the NAACP, speaking out, this is affecting black people.
Well, you know the NAACP. I don't know what the situation is with them.
I'm talking about the
They don't
69.
address nothing.
I'm talking about the 6. I'm like,
For anybody.
No, I ain't talking about right now with the NAACP. I'm trying to tell you all how we were.
Right.
The progress
But you
that we
said we
made.
don't have any
well, you need to
leaders
help
now.
them get
No.
back to that.
Now I'm talking about, well, we like for instance, you may be a person speaking. I'm talking about the person in general speaking out like it. Mr. Law speaking out. Like for instance, here. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. This book right here. This book right here.
Is that what's his name? Andrew Billingsley?
Yeah. But I'm going to show you what he said, what he did here. Chapter 5.
Is that Ralph Mark Gilbert?
That's the chapter. The whole chapter in this book 5 is on the Dr. Ralph Mark Gilbert.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Came here in Savannah in 1939, passed the First Baptist Church.
Mm-hmm.
There were no, he revitalized the NAACP.
Mm-hmm.
He set up 40. Now look at now, just in the 50s when black folk was hanging trees,
Mm-hmm.
he set up 40 NAACP chapters over the state of Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And his late wife just died about a month or two ago, Mrs. Gilbert. She lived to be 100 years old.
Mm-hmm.
She would go by and help raise the money. Dr. Gilbert, along with 2 ministers, he encouraged him
Mm-hmm.
to file a suit to allow black folk to vote in the Democratic primary. We can only vote for president. That's it.
Mhm.
Couldn't
But
vote-
you know what the problem is, Mr. Thornton? We're in a different time right now.
Yeah,
We're
but-
in a different age right now. And
That's
when you
true.
say black leaders, you know, I look at the leaders that we've had in the past,
Yeah.
the 3 black mayors that we had, and it goes back to dignity and decorum.
Right.
We were so busy worrying about being dignified and having decorum that we ain't got no resources. We don't have nothing.
We don't.
So at the end of the day, I'm gonna ask the same question. Do you want dignity and decorum, or do you want drama and disruption
And no results.
and resources?
Well,
Yeah.
Now that's up to you, Savannah.
But you know, for me, Alderwoman Blakely, that's what makes me so excited about my tenure as mayor for Savannah. I would like to demonstrate to Savannah what leadership really looks like.
Exactly.
Right.
Leadership,
Now, can I say
for
something? here?
one, starts by an example, right?
Exactly.
Mhm.
And so when we talk about leadership of our Savannah City Council, it's basically giving every citizen who has signed up for service to the city of Savannah an equal opportunity to serve all voices within their districts.
Yes.
But when you have a mayor, the current mayor has committed the largest single act of voter suppression
Ever.
than these times that these people are talking about here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He has created more voter suppression in Savannah over the last 4 years because he has single-handedly iced out the top 2 vote getters in the
Mhm.
entire city.
Yes.
Alderwoman Blakely received the single largest vote, more than any person in the 2019
did.
election.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes, and didn't have no money.
And
Yeah.
I
Not
was,
like what they got going on now.
and I
No.
was the second contender. And so when you preclude opportunity for us to
Mhm.
effectively serve the interests of the people who sent us to City Hall,
Yeah.
you are closing. He's not closing us out. You're closing out the voice of an entire
Community,
community.
yes.
And so, you know, we have to wake up.
We got to rethink. This, like I say from the beginning, this is a critical election.
It is.
Very.
Very critical for the movement of this city.
Mhm.
Now, I'll come to you for a few minutes,
Yes,
if I
sir.
might.
Please.
Now, I met you many, many years ago, and
Yes.
you're an outspoken person like myself,
Mm-hmm.
nobody gonna take away my right to speech.
That's right.
And I'm gonna be dignified in it,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm gonna speak my piece.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna recapitulate unless I have to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when
Now,
I look,
now, when you say you're going to be dignified, now when you
When I-
talk
when I-
about
when I-
dignified,
when I
you know,
let me modify that.
okay, thank
When I'm saying dignified, that don't mean I'm gonna be just so much humble that I'm gonna let you run over me.
you. Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about being strong, speak out, take a stand.
That's right.
That's what I'm talking about. Not saying
Okay, you're going to be
dignified.
mighty in your speech.
and
Mhm.
let you know where I stand.
Right, but you know what, Mr. Thornton, a lot of people look at me and they listen to how I speak and
Yeah.
they get offended by it because I'm strong in the way
Well,
I
that's the same thing
speak.
with me.
Now that's 25 years of training from the United States Army.
I
where
was
my
on
fear-
talking too.
Look here, where my field of study was communications.
Yeah,
So there's a way that you communicate,
right.
and don't look at it like, oh, my voice is strong and I'm just in
No, I ain't
bully
talking
mode.
about
That's
that.
not the case.
That's not the case.
You know, I speak so that you
No.
could hear and understand. Now, a lot of people might not like what I'm saying
Yeah,
and how I say it, but they're gonna have to respect it
you know, I learned that
because I'm
statement
telling
from-
what God loved.
Yes, I learned that
And that's
many
the truth.
years ago
Yes.
from listen to me real well.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Gilbert baptized me. I grew up in
Mhm.
First Time Baptist, my whole family, and he said to me one time this:
Mm-hmm.
when you take a stand, the people may not like you,
Mm-hmm.
but they respect you.
That's right.
That's why I get so mad with some of my black leaders,
Hmm.
so-called leaders of people,
Mm-hmm.
bowing down to white people,
Hmm.
kowtowing.
Hmm.
They don't respect you like that.
Mm-mm. You know what my granddaddy told me? He said a white man will respect a black man
Yeah,
that kick butt better than one that kiss butt.
exactly. That's what I'm
And
trying
I was 13 years old when
That's
he
what I'm
said
trying
that,
to
and
tell
I'm
you.
63 right now.
Dr. Gilbert had so much power in this town.
Mm-hmm.
When he had his funeral, there was the First Time Baptist Church holds 1,600 people. That was the largest place in Savannah for years and years and years, other than the municipal auditorium.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to have his plays. You couldn't get in there,
Mm-hmm.
but people respected him.
Mm-hmm.
They respected him. I told you some of the things he did.
Right.
But what gets me, and I'm speaking my piece, I cannot understand how black people
Hmm.
would turn and vote for a white man or a white woman before they do you.
I can't
Now, if you were no
understand
good
it
in
either.
office, I'd be afraid I'm with you. Let's get rid of her.
Mm-hmm.
But when you speak out and take a stand like you all trying to say, why do we do this? Now, you take this man right here. When I got this, I got so mad, but I threw it in the trash can. And to be honest, I got
You
it
had to
out.
go back and get it
Yeah, well, I ain't got it.
for tonight's show.
I went back and got it for the night show.
Yeah.
It bugs me. Let me tell you about why. Why you say that, Grover? I'm going to tell you why I say that. When I got this in the mail, I had the highest respect for Dr. Johnson. Don't misunderstand me now. I have the highest respect. Like I told you now, I told you about the Apostle Paul. He was a murderer.
Mm-hmm.
When Jesus knocked him off that horse and chained him around,
Yes.
he's the greatest missionary the world has ever known.
Mm-hmm.
The man was shipwrecked. The man was
Mhm.
bitten by a snake. The man put in jail.
Mm-hmm.
You can ask for no more than that.
That's right.
But my point was this. I look at Atlanta, like I just said, Atlanta's had black after black after black after black after black bears.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because of the leadership,
Mm-hmm.
because of the respect,
Mm-hmm.
get things done.
Mm-hmm.
Now, but this man here, let me tell you, maybe man here, but maybe man don't know him. Now, I don't know
Show
whether.
that,
I
show
wait a
that.
minute, let me speak now. I got the floor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know whether this man was it Mr. Russell was his daddy, uncle. What I'm talking about during the '60s, when he was on recycle scene.
I ain't never heard of him.
All right, I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you on the recycle scene. The recycle because of black leadership and the Beloved Advisory Council. That's why we put Bull forward with the first one got on the council as a black man, and later Roy Jackson got on there, and later on
Mm-hmm.
Floyd Allen became the man. We made progress. What I'm trying to tell you. Now this man here, when I look at this here, ladies and gentlemen, listen to me on the radio. I mean on this show. He was this. He was the assistant principal here. He was the principal here. I don't know nobody. Who knows about it? That's what make me mad with black people. Here's the white man playing. go get a black man or a black lady, and the black folks say, oh, we got a lot of respect for them people. I have the highest respect for Dr. Johnson.
Mhm.
He went out there and integrated Armstrong. Now, don't y'all think it was so easy? Nobody had a riot or anything, but everything wasn't good for him when he broke that ice, and I respect him for that.
Mhm.
Eddie Jackson was the first black mayor. I have to give it what, and I stood up at my church and told the people, and when I endorsed her, but she
First
ran.
black female.
Female, I meant to say first black female.
Mhm.
That thing that she did during the political violence, no question about it. But the fact of this man taught school all of this time. I knew he had to have Black History Week. So if he all of a sudden he come on the scene, here's the plan. Get a noted black woman, a noted black men, several noted black people, and they will, we got to follow him. We got to follow her. The hell with that, because we don't know how about this man. Let me hear this here. All these things at the school, you had to have sometime black
Well,
history.
let me see.
Black, let me get thought out. Black history, right?
Mhm.
But why hadn't he come out and said something? If I'm elected on this board, then I'm going to make sure that Black history would not be whitewashed. So I mean, he was in so much in education, ain't it? Am I right or wrong?
That individual said that he's running for office because we are interfering with the process.
What process?
What process are you talking
Yeah,
about?
what process are you talking about?
Huh?
He said that.
The process of course, of moving Savannah forward. Now, you want to move Savannah forward, and in moving Savannah forward, the template that they're using is the one that they used in Charleston, South Carolina, and the one that they used in Hilton Head. Now, let me remind you all, Charleston, South Carolina was 90% black.
Yeah.
Charleston, South Carolina now is less than 9% black. Hilton Head was 90% black.
Yes, it was.
Hilton Head is now less than 9% black.
They had all
When
that-
our city manager was hired, the
We've had
first
four, by
thing
the
they
way.
did,
We've had 4 city managers in 4 years.
the first thing they did
Mhm.
was take our city manager
To Charleston.
to Charleston, South Carolina. So they want to use
Within
the
first 3 weeks of
template.
being here.
Thank you. They want to use the template of getting rid of African Americans in our city,
Mhm.
of course, so that it could be like Charleston and it could be like Hilton Head. Okay,
Oh, wait.
this thing is bigger than what you all think, and they're using black folk, i.e., the mayor, i.e., your district representatives, to doggone do this.
Which
There
is why
has
for
never
the
been
first
in
time
the history
of Savannah.
a
Mhm.
mayor raise
Mhm.
$500,000 doggone dollars
Uh-huh.
for a job that pays less than $70,000.
50.
Y'all better pay attention.
And for the
Okay.
first time in the history of Savannah politics, there's not one white person,
One white
male
person.
or female, and there's not one Republican in the race. And so that should tell you, Savannah, all of Savannah, that should tell you everything you need to know. And that is Savannah is on the take.
That's
That's
right.
why
Savannah
we
is for sale.
must take our city back, because she has become a commodity
Mhm.
and no longer a community. And so what we want to say once again, and Alderwoman Blakely, this was a revelation that I had today when I shared with you the whole notion of the funeral home providing dignity. I am no longer buying into the notion of incivility, decorum. I'm not going to get caught up in this 20-year incumbents. His one main tagline of all of the years that he's been in office, all of his service comes down to the need for decorum,
Come
incivility.
Come
When
on.
he created the very drama. Now, the single largest act of incivility that's happened on our council
Mhm.
and on any council previous to ours, and I would say any council in this region as of late that I've heard, the single largest act of incivility that occurred on this council
Mm,
was being called a black ghetto BITCH.
that's right. By a
There
council
was-
member.
There was no ethics complaint.
None.
There was, you probably can't even find the headline now. And so where was the civility in that?
Mhm.
And so again, we challenge this mayor to come up with some substance. Let's talk about any real policies that you have enacted that really move the needle for our marginalized and vulnerable communities.
There are none.
And
we don't
black
wanna
folk,
talk-
and particularly the uplifting black people.
Yes, and we
That's
don't-
my
There are
point.
none.
and we don't want to talk about this proverbial housing fund that's essentially a black hole that's, again, padding the pockets of individuals who are on that housing board for the housing fund. They actually are some of the major contributors
To
to
his
the
campaign.
campaign.
Oh,
So,
mercy.
we want to challenge the mayor of the
I don't
$500,000,
care for
nearly
this man at all.
over $600,000 that you've raised, Mayor Johnson. We challenge you to donate $100,000 to our housing fund. I want you to meet my challenge today. If you, I tell you this, if you were to donate all,
no,
of,
ma'am, don't do that. Mm-mm.
no,
Don't
we
do-
want them.
No,
Yes, I do.
no,
Yes, I
no,
do.
don't challenge him.
No.
Just whoop his behind at the polls.
I'm going to do that. I'm
You
gonna
don't
do
challenge
that.
me.
I think one of the things
we
that
want to challenge you to donate $100,000 of your
Mm-mm.
contributions to the housing fund. We're still going to win, but that's what I want you to do.
Okay, after you whoop his butt,
Well,
then you can
and
take that money
And that's
in.
the other thing, Savannah. I'm not a loser, and I am not a climber. I'm a keeper.
Mhm.
The race of this race doesn't mean that much to me, where Savannahans have to continue to suffer for me to win. That's not my goal. I want this. The best thing that I could have done for Savannah as a sitting alderperson was to declare my candidacy for mayor over a year ago,
Mhm.
because that made him do halfway right. And so people say, well, you shouldn't let him know your ideas. You shouldn't let people know what you're planning to do. I want you to hijack my ideas. I want you to make them your own, because I want better for Savannah
Mhm.
and not simply for my winning this race. So while we want to honor the people who support me and who want us to win, because my win is going to signify a win for all of Savannah, we also want you to recognize that I could have very well stayed in this Alderwoman at Large Post 1 seat, and I would have won Post 1 by a landslide. It would have been safer for me to run as an incumbent and keep my seat. The toughest job and the toughest challenge for me would have been to run for mayor.
Mhm.
And I want you also to know, full disclosure, I supported this mayor 150%.
We all did.
I signed up to make this mayor the best mayor that Savannah and this country has ever seen, because he had the right mix of individuals at the
Mhm.
table.
Yes.
Mhm.
And it was only when I saw that the same behaviors that happened within the previous administration were mimicked in this administration,
Mhm.
where Eddie's friends and all of his donors are now the mayor's friends and all of his donors,
Mhm.
where the legacy contracts from the previous administration are also the same legacy contractors in this administration.
Mhm.
And you know what? Eddie DeLoach said in his address to a group of pastors who were challenging him and asking him what was it that he was going to do for the Black community.
Mhm.
And in short order, Eddie DeLoach said, you've had African American leadership
20 plus
for 20
years.
plus years. What did they do for you?
What did
Nothing.
they do?
I tell you this, ask Eddie DeLoach right now. Somebody call him on the phone. Eddie DeLoach came to me
Mhm.
when he was charting his course for election,
Re-election.
and he asked me to support him. And I told him at that time that I could not support him and that I was not inclined to engage in politics at that time, particularly at that level. And so he pursued and asked me, what could he say to the Black community when he made address or outreach to them, because he'd been asked questions about what he was going to do. And he will tell you that Keisha Gibson Carter told him, if he's asked that question again, ask them what have they done to ask the other leaders who have
Mhm.
led this community for 20 years
Let me ask you this
for the
question.
Black community, because it is time for us to stop aligning ourselves with people just because they look like us, We've said time and time again,
That's right.
all skin folk
Ain't kinfolk, and all your color ain't your kind.
And when you have people who are motivated to do for the least of these, the rest of us are going to rise. Everybody
right.
else is going to come up automatically.
Sure.
You know,
Mhm.
Well, let me ask you this question. All these things that you all have been enumerating tonight, that have been negative, as far as I'm concerned,
Mhm.
why these things aren't getting out to the community? I mean, why are we not
Because
in?
they-
Why are we
they-
not?
Well,
why are we
the
not in
media,
them?
you got to understand, the
Is the
media
media being
is
in the
being,
corner?
yeah, in the corner of
the
the
administration?
administration. Yes.
well, it's what I said to you
But they're
before.
not with us, because who wants to upset this apple cart?
Yeah,
Who wants to interrupt this power structure?
yeah,
You understand?
yeah.
Who wants to relinquish that power that they've had over us for decades?
Sure is.
Nobody.
Nobody.
So you talking about folk that have been getting money from
Mhm.
our city government
Mhm.
for decades. I'm talking them became millionaires
What did I
off
say
the
the other
backs
day?
of taxpayers.
Sure, that's true.
If
Come
local-
on,
if
man.
City of Savannah
Whew.
contracts went away,
Mhm.
if Board of Education contracts went away, and if Chatham County government contracts went away,
Mhm.
legacy wealth in this town
Well,
would dry up
that's right.
and die. It would die off. The wealth in this community is primarily built on the backs of taxpayers
That's
Yes.
right.
and governmental contracts. And we're not saying you cannot have it. We're just saying you can't have it all.
That's right.
No longer can we sit idly by and allow the takers to only be the makers in this town.
Come
Well,
on.
well, what
For every dollar people pay into this tax base, they too deserve a return.
Mhm.
And we cannot continue to be greedy. It's just sheer greed is what we are experiencing in Savannah.
that's terrible. And so many of us
You know what, Mr. Thornton?
don't even know all these things are happening. Nobody's letting the public know these are
We're letting them
discrepancies.
know. We're
Now
letting
you're
them
letting them know.
know.
I mean, we should have been knowing all these type things about money here, money there, people getting money over here, people getting no investigations going on.
Well, you
or
know
nothing.
why you didn't know about that? Because they didn't want you to know about that. So they're not going to
Shameful.
put that information
So
out there.
that's why-
But because we're doing it,
You're
and
doing
we're
it. That's what
telling
makes them
you,
angry about
then
it.
guess what? They say we are uncivil.
Uncivil.
We're we don't have decorum.
Because
we don't have
you know what the
dignity.
question I would like to say. This is true. I'd like to ask former Mayor Jackson and my good friend too, Dr. Johnson, why did run this man against you?
I can tell you
I
why.
know, but I'd like to ask him.
I want you to ask them, and then I want you to tell me why. But I'm
Yeah.
getting ready to tell y'all why.
Why?
Because I speak
Speak
up
out.
and speak out.
That's what I figured.
And they don't know, and I got to say this right here as well. They know what the process is for the city of Savannah.
Yeah.
And for this man to say we are interfering with the process, now you got to understand one thing. Mayor Johnson and Mayor Jackson, they know. We went to Mayor Jackson when she was in office and asked her for a donation for Juneteenth. This woman said the city don't have any money, but when you look around, everybody else was getting money that did not have the same color as me. Now that we at the table, we went to the city manager and got Juneteenth $15,000. Okay, when the mayor said that Edna Jackson said there were no money in the coffers for the city of Savannah. See, the thing is, you got to stop looking down on your people.
Yes.
You got to stop having self-hate against your people.
Well, that's what I'm
At the
saying.
end of the day.
That's what I'm saying. I just said it wrong.
The other thing, Mr. Thornton, Alderwoman Blakely,
That's
is
right.
you are exposing
What's going
what
on
they
wrong?
really represented.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I think it's
Because
terrible.
when we took that oath in January of 2020,
Mhm.
we said that we were going to go forth without fear, without
Favor
favor,
or
or
affection.
affection.
But that's what you're
And
supposed to
so
do when
we
you're
have
representing the
been
people.
fearless.
Mhm.
We have been fearless,
Yeah.
and we have been bold, and we haven't given respect to any person with regard to somebody's feelings or their reputation.
Exactly.
And so just because you didn't do due diligence when you were in this seat, you slipped and slide, shucked and jived. And because we are above board,
Mhm.
they now have to do everything within their power to cast aspersion on our
Mhm.
character, to make us appear to be unhinged, crazy,
Yeah,
angry
unhinged,
people.
yes.
Because guess what?
You're speaking out.
Because of the power of platforms like yours,
Yeah.
Yes.
people are now actually listening.
Mhm.
I
And
hope so.
because people are listening, they now have to cast aspersion
Mhm.
and make us look like something different so that you don't trust us. If it were not for people like you in mediums like this, in our
Mhm.
Black media, ATR, Better Savannah, Unity Political Action Committee,
Yes.
if it were not for
Hold on.
these,
By us, for us.
and
Yes.
candidly Keisha,
Yes, yes.
we would essentially be dead on arrival
Mhm.
because the people would have no voice. And so I say this again, and I say it wholeheartedly. I recently rejected an interview with WTOC
Yes.
because they have been primary and number one in spewing biased news,
Mhm.
unfair journalism, and journalism that lacks in integrity.
Yes.
And the evidence of that was essentially what they did to the third party candidate in this mayor's race, where they
Yes.
reduced this woman to tears. And sweetheart, don't ever let them see you sweat. Don't ever do that.
Well, I think it's ridiculous.
But what we want to say is when the media does not appropriately and accurately report news,
The information, yes.
you deny the public from an opportunity
To know what's
to
going
hold
on.
us accountable.
Exactly.
So the media has essentially crafted out a narrative that's consistent with the establishment's
Mhm.
interest. And as a result, you have a group of people who actually believe the hype.
Yes.
That's why, in my judgment, they want to get rid of people like yourself over here because you let the people know. Like I just said, a lot of us don't know these things are going on.
That's
so what
right.
you do, get you out of the way,
Mhm.
and they can move like they want to
Because
move.
they know that I'm the one with the voice to let the
Exactly.
people know.
Know
I'm like
what's
a
going
broke
on.
down. Charlie Brown always says,
My buddy
I'm
Charlie.
like a broke down refrigerator.
Can't keep
Don't
nothing.
hold nothing.
Yeah.
Keep it all. Mr. Julius is calling.
He's telling
Natalie.
us it's time up.
Natalie.
Okay.
Natalie.
Don't let people.
Well, I'll tell you the truth. There's such a great information in tonight.
Mhm.
That's what I'm saying. One of the things we got to do, ladies and gentlemen, we got to get out and vote.
There you go.
Yes.
We got to get out. Now, these ladies
Like
have.
our lives depend on it because
These
it
ladies,
does.
these ladies have.
Remember in November.
Yes.
Go
over in October.
Yes. But we got to get out and vote.
Mhm.
Now,
Yes.
like Dr. King said, and I always come down on the ministers because they speak to more people than anybody else
Mhm.
every week. They got to drill in
We got
voting.
8 seconds. We got to
All right.
wrap this up.
We got to wrap this up.
We
This
done
was
went
such a
over
great,
time.
So
great meeting here tonight. And
Now don't hurt yourself because you're sitting between us. Okay.
no,
Come on over here. Come on
y'all
over
give
here.
me more strength.
but you know how we really
Okay.
met is I met your brother years before I met you. And when I saw you, y'all look so much alike. I
Yeah.
thought you were your brother.
Yeah, my oldest brother.
Mhm.
Yeah, I sure miss him.
Yes.
But
Listen,
anyway,
Savannah.
We've had a wonderful meeting here tonight, and I wanted to bring these ladies in. And I'm going to change my structure. I think I had to look at the calendar, but I want to have remove my show from the second to the first Saturday, whatever. I think that's what it is.
Mhm.
So y'all get an opportunity to really impress upon. We're gonna close it right now, Mr. Hall. Impress upon the people, the reporters, are voting, and
Yes.
you see what these people have said here tonight.
Yeah,
All this
Listen.
information, we do not know what's going on in our
Yes.
city.
that's right.
Well, guess what, Mr. Thornton? Guess what? If Savannah votes, we will win.
There you go.
We're gonna make history.
I
We're
hope
gonna
so.
make history on November 7th,
That's right.
2023.
So
It will be us, Savannah, United Savannah. And you know what? It's not gonna be a runoff, it's just gonna be a straight cutoff.
well, I hope so.
68 out the gate. Let's get it, Savannah.
Spanking
All
butt.
right, I'm so pleased for closing here tonight, and I hope that you all have listened very attentively to the issues that are affecting our life in this community, and let's take the actions necessarily.
Mhm.
Let us realize one thing: we have worked together. We have struggled together as a people.
Mhm.
And it's nowhere. And turning back now, they're trying to turn back the clocks of
Oh,
time.
yes.
And we got to vote. We got to vote as never before.
That's right.
So I want to see you tonight in closing. Let us continue to work for justice, equality, because what we do will go on down the line to the unborn generations of black
Yes.
children.
Yes.
And we got to take that stand. So tonight I want to say thank you for listening. And then you ladies, thank you for being on the show.
You're welcome.
And God bless you.
God bless
Thank you so much, Savannah. We love you.
That's it.
This was great.
Yes.
I'm just so glad I made it because I didn't want to be on your bad list.
Okay.
You've been on it now.
Oh, he'd have been talking trash. Oh my God.
Yeah, I
We've
kinda-
been trying to get you,
I've been
you.
kind of on
You
you
were
then.
supposed to
Yeah.
be here.
I was hot with you.
You
so-
I know
stood me
you
up.
was.
Yeah, but see,
Wait a minute. Hold on. We still talking. Oh, let's just sit here and smile.
Like this. 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 Like this.